Hello, hello. What's up, everybody? We're live. How are we?
Oh, so good.
Yeah?
So good. Hey. What's up, man?
We're back. We're missing one.
Yeah.
Is that...
Oh, we are missing one.
Is that one?
I hadn't noticed.
Well, you're in his seat right now, so I think you did notice. He might be on...
You caught me. I noticed.
Is he on baby watch?
Yeah, what do we got? Like, we're in a 72-hour countdown, maybe?
I think
it's
so.
that close.
I think so.
Oh, it's like code red.
Yeah. So
Oh, wow.
we could be brand new uncles, boys. We don't even know it.
Damn.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
excited for him. Hopefully everything's going smoothly. I'm sure he's got the pod live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck, bud.
Yeah. So, yeah, good luck to Armand and Erica. All the best wishes. And, yeah, can't wait to see you back. We expect you back next week. There's no such thing as paternity leave, brother. All right, boys. How we doing?
I feel like I got hit by a bus.
Because all the volatility.
It's just a lot.
It's a lot of
a lot
vol.
happening.
We're bullish again. It seems.
I'm not. What?
I mean, I've been like pretty like short-term bullish like since the dippity dip.
Which dip are you talking about?
The big dip.
Okay.
The Big Dipper. But I bought like a decent amount of Bitcoin, like almost nailed like the exact Pico low.
Okay.
What was the Pico low? It was in the 70s, right?
Yeah, it was like 78 something.
Okay.
It just tagged the mid range.
Okay.
You just like point here, point in the middle, boom, done.
Big
Easy.
mid-range guy. Huge mid-range
So
guy.
easy, yeah, mid ranges. But yeah, I mean, I was okay. So I had pickleball scheduled for. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
So Sunday morning, I had an early morning pickleball scheduled. Like, so I woke up at 7 a.m. and my buddy just like flaked on me. He's like, "Oh, I can't make it." So I'm like, "Damn it!" So I'm in bed browsing Twitter, and then I see strategic reserve tweets Sunday morning. I'm like, "Oh God!" So I just roll out of bed and just log on the computer and just like push the green button on everything, and then everything turbo pumps, and I'm just like, "Ah, this is a scam." Just sell everything.
I can't wait to talk about the next new episode of Crime.
Dude, the crime is staggering.
It's so
just
blatant.
So much crime.
Well, we'll get to it. What are you boys drinking over there?
I've got some high noons.
High Nooners.
Nooners. That's what the kids are on.
Do you have the pineapple one? That one's my favorite.
I have a little grab bag. Peach, pineapple.
Pineapple.
And
I hate pineapple.
I have a tequila one with lime.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you got?
I have like a double old fashioned.
Yeah, class.
Lovely. I'm gonna need
class.
both of your
pretty
drinks.
sauced in like T-minus 4 minutes here, boys.
We have like little camera glitches. They're just like little glitches. The audio's fine.
Are they
though.
showing up on the? Oh, they're showing up on the stream too.
Yeah. I tried to solve it for like an hour. Couldn't figure it
Yeah.
out.
Sorry guys, you're gonna get the
Yeah.
seizure warning.
Sorry for the seizures.
Yeah, this time you couldn't just unplug and replug. We
That's
tried
only-
we tried that.
That's basically all we tried for an hour. We'll unplug that one. Now plug it back in.
I love how it's just randomness.
It's so
I don't
random.
know.
It's just like a car that like circa 1993 in the driveway. It's like, will it start? I don't know.
Literally the same thing every week, and then we're just like, oh, new Easter egg, new tech Easter egg. Anyway, if we spent more time on this pod, I'm sure we could figure it out. Let's give a shout out to our sponsor. So go to
3 more years.
Yeah, 3 more years, we'll figure it out.
Alan Bryce said we probably have a loose cable.
Probably correct.
Well,
Probably not the best time to wiggle the cables.
We did unplug and replug everything.
All right, guys, let's just give a shout out to Zbotics. So go to zbotics.com/alfalfa and check out the pre-alcohol drink. You drink it a few hours before you have your cocktail or your beer or your wine. And yeah, all that alcohol creates a nasty toxin called
Acetaldehyde.
yeah. And it's that toxin that makes you feel like shit in the morning. And the pre-alcohol drink is a genetically engineered probiotic to specifically attack that toxin. You could still take your electrolytes to help, but it's not really gonna, do the trick. So yeah, check out Zbotics. You get 15% off when you use code Alfalfa at checkout. And if you don't like it, they'll give you your money back. So if you like drinking it all, definitely worth it. I'm sure most of you have already tried it at least. And yeah, we thank you guys for continuing to use it and using the code and supporting the pod. And thanks, of course, to Zbotics for always supporting the pod as well.
Hell yeah.
All right, boys. We have an agenda. We never really decided in what order we're going to go.
What are you feeling?
I don't know.
Follow your heart.
We could do a little Jeopardy.
You have a heart, right? You're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
the Tin Man.
The Tin Man, yeah. Give me some squirts of WD-40. Let's do JD memes for 400.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
God.
You want to pull those up on the screen, Steven?
yeah. We got some.
Steven's on the laptop today.
So there's
Do
no
you need to
topic
give a
in
little
this.
backstory on
Yeah,
the
give the
JD memes?
backstory. We just were laughing so hard at these.
I mean, these all came from the say thank you, please, or what, you know.
Please.
It just opened up. It just opened up Twitter, you know, one day, and it's just like all I could see were these fucking JD. This one is so funny.
Have you said thank you once?
All right, keep
I saw the
scrolling through 'em.
tagline on this was like somebody was like, "Hey, my friend wants to know if you can have a bump." A friend.
What else you got there?
That's a good one.
Ooh,
Ooh, wow. Is that
steely-eyed JD.
JD Eastwood?
Yeah. Oh my god, is this liberal JD?
I don't know what that is.
The eyeshadow's intense. Oh god.
There's some good ones like in this thread. You get this one was good. Minion JD.
He just wants a thank you.
I'm afraid I'm gonna scroll down to. Oh my god.
Wow. Yeah, don't stop scrolling. You don't know what's in there.
Oh, they're so good. Oh yeah. Oh no, this was my favorite one.
That one looks almost real. All right, are you guys feeling a little money or politics? Because like they're kind of intertwined these days. But you want to do money first?
Yeah, let's talk money.
Okay. Let's talk about the crime that we talked about earlier. So a
talk
strategic
crime.
crypto reserve
Oh.
got pre-announced on the weekend when the big liquid markets were not available, but the very illiquid markets were available.
It's
on
funny
the
how that
weekend.
always happens, huh?
Yeah, weird. Like almost like if you could tell a buddy, now would be a good time to put on like a $50 million 50x leverage trade.
Or a $200 million trade.
Yeah.
On Hyperliquid, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I saw that and it didn't really enter. I was like, wow, that is a degenerate trade. So what was the actual, not the notional amount, but like the amount they put at risk?
It was the amount at risk was like 4 million, but they put in a $200 million position size with it.
So they have 50x leverage, which means if it goes down 1.99%, you're
Basically, yeah.
You lose $4 million.
yeah, you're liquidated.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, what a degenerate. I didn't think that someone would only do that if they were unsure. No, or not unsure.
Yeah, I am not unsure.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I saw that was weird is one of these forensic guys like traced it, and they were like, "Oh, this wallet is just tied to this scammer, basically."
So it was a degenerate trade.
So like, I think it ended up actually just being a degenerate.
Well, within like 12 hours later, I don't know how many hours later, Trump announces that. And what was the trade on? Was it on ETH or Bitcoin?
he was long Bitcoin and ETH, I believe.
Okay. So a tweet comes out that there will be a crypto strategic reserve, and it will include amazing cryptocurrencies like Cardano and Solana and XRP.
And he didn't even mention.
And so he doesn't mention the thing that the, homeboy or maybe like a son, one of your sons, put the trade on and then immediately corrects it. Says, oh, and of course, there will be Bitcoin and ETH. I can't believe the guy didn't get liquidated in that moment. Like people buy the coins that the president mentions and then sell the ones that everyone assumed would be in there, but were not explicitly mentioned.
I mean, Bitcoin pumped hard.
Okay.
ETH.
But like Ripple was up like 40% or something, and like right
It
afterwards.
was up like 30% at one point. It was crazy. I mean, I actually longed ETH because everything pumped, and like ETH kind of was like going down, and everybody was like dunking on ETH online, and I was just sitting there like, and like sure enough, like the ETH tweet came, and I was just like, okay, and I just market bought just a bunch. You had like 4 minutes, and then it just went up like 20% instantly. I was like, oh, okay. I guess
Just imagining Baron.
this is how we make money now.
Baron picking up the phone. Father, please correct the tweet, Father. I'm about to get liquidated.
Do you think they're like 100%
Yes.
criming?
It's so obvious.
Okay, so I think there's good argument that actually like the Hyperliquid guy wasn't an insider, because like why wouldn't you long XRP
Right.
or ADA? ADA went up 50%.
Yeah, 12 hours before.
50%.
12 hours before is like plenty of time to get liquidated.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Yeah. So I actually think it's just some random criminal degen out there.
Okay, fine. Then you can reference the previous Eric Trump tweet. It's like, you should buy ETH. Thank me later.
Like, the best part was the Eric Trump's tweet over the weekend was amazing because he was just like wrote some diatribe about how like this is for the people. We do this on the weekend. We're like the suits can't get involved.
It's like, no, you can go massive leveraged.
It was literally like the Big Short scene where he's like, why are they confessing?
He's not bragging. Or no.
He's bragging.
Yeah, he's bragging.
He's not confessing. He's bragging.
Speaking of ETH, I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a NASDAQ stock that issued a white paper and a statement saying they're now making ETH their preferred treasury asset. I looked it up. It's like
I did see this.
Wait, who's doing this?
Okay, so it's a company called like Biogen. It's like
Just saw it.
BCLG or BCGL is the ticker. It's a legit ticker. The company makes no money. It makes like $10 million in revenue, and they have like, I don't know, 6-7 million in cash, something like that. Their cash flow is like negative 2 million. So it's and they're supposed they make like synthetic raw materials that they sell to the Malaysian market, like resin, and then they also do some bio stuff. And now they're gonna fill their coffers with ETH. So this is basically like it's basically a shell company at this point. That doesn't.
Did their stock go down when they announced this?
I don't think they might have announced it today. I don't know.
I think it was like 5 hours ago, so it might have been after hours.
Yeah, but they issued they wrote like a 2-pager white paper on ETH, and it was basically like, you know, as if, I don't know, one of the like Franklin Templeton or Fidelity, when they came out, they kind of like bull thesis for ETH. It was pretty decent. You know, it wasn't like numbers going to go up. They had some like someone there knew their research, but I wonder if ETH's got its sailor and we're going to see some convertible debt being issued very shortly.
No demand.
No demand. No one buys it.
Yeah, he didn't money printer it last week at the end of the week, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, isn't this blackout period done?
I don't know.
And then MicroStrategy's been ripping today after I
13%.
already sold it, of course.
Yeah, same.
He stuck it to me good.
Well, they're going to announce this thing at we assume they're going to announce it at this crypto summit on Friday. So I guess if you want to get out of any positions, Friday would be a good time to
sell the news, maybe.
Yes, fuck yeah. What do you think, Steven?
One little scam pump.
I mean, it's been such a trader's paradise. It's been crazy. Like Sunday was the easiest trade ever to go long. I also think it was the easiest thing ever to sell. I don't know how people didn't fucking sell. Like I don't know what people are doing. But then Monday, when everything was dead, it was just like, of course, like, they're not going to go into the crypto summit with everything like going down. They're probably just buying again. They'll probably tweet something like tomorrow and just send everything back to the moon again.
I actually hopped in.
Sell the summit.
I hopped in Magic Lines Premium on Monday morning. You had a pretty good timeline there, sir.
Thank you.
You nailed it. You're like, well, the Asia market opens this time, the New York market opens this time, so I'm going to sell at this time. And yeah, you nailed it.
I feel like Magic Lines Premium is going to be perfect for this Friday action.
Yeah. What's the URL again? magiclines.xyz/alfalfa.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, check it out if you guys want. But yeah, should be a pretty good trading day. You got your calendar cleared or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that it's a Friday, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be watching the screen. Yeah, I think tomorrow I gotta like go through the plan, right? I'm gonna be like, okay, if they do this, I'm gonna do this. If they do this, this is like short-term bullish, but then you're gonna sell. Like the big thing right now is, are they gonna do there's the rumor swirling about like the no cap gains.
Oh.
On like
that
crypto,
would be
maybe
American
bullish. Crypto or something.
Oh wait, would that be bullish? I mean, like if you're up big, and you basically got 3 years until that thing gets repealed.
No cap gains on American crypto is like insanely fucking short-term bullish on stuff.
But isn't it like I don't know. I'm thinking like maybe 3-dimensional. It's like, doesn't that mean that it's like not going to get congressional approval probably.
Well,
And
that's
then-
why it's like a sell the pump thing. But like you probably get like an immediate like double-digit candle on some of this stuff.
Juicy.
Like ADA is the interesting one.
Of course it is.
You know.
So interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting from a trading perspective. It's obviously a gigantic scammy piece of shit, but like for the purposes of trading, I mean, it looks quite interesting. Like I see a world where it goes like $1.60 like pretty quickly, which is
What's it at now?
like probably like 95 cents or something. So again, it was up 50% on Sunday.
You know who's not invited to this crypto summit that I can't believe?
Danny Ryan?
Jack Dorsey.
Oh.
Satoshi Nakamoto, like the creator of Bitcoin, has not been
By
invited.
the way, I listened to a whole it's a block. Did you see Blockworks launched a new podcast
Nah.
called I forgot the name of it. It's a Bitcoin podcast. It's got some Bitcoin name. It's a good one. But they had an episode with like Jameson Lopp, and he just did the whole thing. He just debunked the shit out of your.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
Okay, I
Yeah.
can't wait
So-
to listen then.
So my 15-20%, it's probably too high.
Are you 0?
I feel like you can't be 0 on anything, but it's got to be like low single digits.
All right. I'll
He's still
reserve
like
judgment.
1 of 1,300. That's like the amount of like cypherpunks that were around at that time.
As of right now, it's a strong belief, but loosely held.
Yeah.
So I'll listen to it.
Yeah. No, it was a good pod.
Is there anything else about this crypto strategic reserve should we care about except that expect a pump if they actually announce it on Friday and then sell it if you're a trader?
I guess I
forget
have
about
a
it if-
question. I have a question for you guys. Like, why do you think Donald went to like include these other assets when like the immediate response from everybody was like, what the fuck? Like even crypto people are like, oh no, not those.
Not like this. Yeah. What's it? There's like a scene from The Matrix where she dies in a terrible way, and she goes, "Not like this."
He doesn't know, man. It's like remember his speech? Like was it last year at the Bitcoin conference where he's like, "And have fun with your Bitcoin and your crypto and whatever else you're playing with."
Yeah.
Like that was like that
Whatever
was
the
like
fuck
his-
else makes you
That
happy.
was just like his like you guys are such fucking losers.
So he's like, so he's clearly pandering to the electoral base,
No, not the electoral base, the funder base.
the funder base.
Yeah.
So do you think this was like pushed by the crypto czar, maybe?
No, I think it's just like, hey, they gave me a fuck ton of money during
And
the
Brad
election.
is like all up in his butt.
Oh yeah, Ripple founder.
Yeah.
But then, you got midterms coming up in a year and a half. You're going to start fundraising in a year. So he probably wants to keep him happy. And then he's going to be like, all right, I gave you everything you fucking wanted. Pay up, make sure I keep the House. I keep the Senate. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward
yeah.
to me.
I mean, Charles is the confusing one. Like
Yeah, he's probably not really involved in
Founder
anything.
of Cardano.
yes.
Yes.
Thank you for that context.
Mm-hmm.
That was needed. I don't. I mean, the fade of the Solana XRP thing was it was easy because it was a Sunday, but it's also easy because like there's no fucking way Congress is passing something where you get like American tax dollars to like buy Ripple while they're like kicking government workers
Does it
out
make
on
you
the street.
Does it make you rethink at all the idea of having a strategic Bitcoin reserve? Because like when you see,
I don't think having a strategic Bitcoin. Well, I don't want to say I don't think it's having it's a bad idea. I'm not sure that it's good. I'm like leaning good.
it's like very loosely strategic. So it's like I don't know. It's like a strategic reserve. It could be a reserve.
I still think that like Jason Lowery makes like a compelling case for it from like sort of like a national security perspective. And it's like the only crypto you can put in that category. So it kind of stands alone. Once you start adding like Ripple or something in there, it's just like, why don't you just buy Tesla stock? Why don't you just buy fucking him?
DJT stock.
You just buy
Fuck
some
it.
Carvana. Why not? It's just like add it all. Just buy the whole damn S&P, I guess.
I mean, one of the best arguments against it is that, if he does it solely through the executive branch, this thing will just be overturned. And then you have the government selling billions of dollars of your precious cryptocurrency, in the next administration.
Yeah, like you get President AOC. She just comes in and dumps it all at
I'm trying to find a Nick Carter. He is a big pro Bitcoiner, and he wrote an article on CoinDesk, 8 reasons a strategic reserve is a bad idea. and I believe that's one of the reasons. But yeah, go search it if you're interested in it, because at first it would be, not intuitive that like a big Bitcoin holder wouldn't want this, but he shows how, how he thinks it's a bad idea. One of his arguments is that the global reserve issuer should not disrupt itself, that it cause more harm than good in the long run.
Good reason.
The U.S. already has plenty of exposure to Bitcoin. There is no strategic value in a crypto reserve. I'm just kind of reading the headlines here. A crypto reserve dilutes the value proposition of Bitcoin. Bitcoin does not need the government, etc. So, yeah, he provides a pretty
Did you guys see the
argument.
The IMF thing about the Bitcoin reserve? Did you see that? I'm sure you did. You see everything. The IMF told El Salvador that it has to slow down its purchases of Bitcoin,
or else it's not going to dish them like donations, basically.
Is that what happened? Because like I can never tell if that's what happened or if like there's like a clause. I thought I saw that they were giving them money, and there was like a clause where it was basically like you can't use this to buy Bitcoin, and I thought that's what it was, and then people were just like retweeting it like, oh, they can't buy Bitcoin anymore. But like, I didn't know if that was the thing. I thought it was like they were getting some money for something.
I just saw
and they
headline.
like wanted to make sure they didn't use it to buy Bitcoin. She's like, hey, don't buy drugs with this money, okay?
Don't go buy Bitcoin with this shit.
Which is reasonable if that's what it is. And again, I don't know for sure that that's what it is, but that was my impression.
That seems to make sense. I mean, they did pressure him early on. When he said, I'm going to buy Bitcoin, they're like, no, you can't.
But the IMF has like, the U.S. has 20% voting power of the IMF.
That's it? Yeah. I always just assumed IMF equals U.S.
Were we only 20?
Well, that's what I saw in the headline.
Okay.
That's lame.
But they were like making this connection saying like, if the U.S. controls the IMF and doesn't want El Salvador buying Bitcoin, what makes you think that they're going to want to buy Bitcoin themselves?
Right.
Are you guys both like pretty defensively positioned, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a buy and holder, but like I keep a Schwab account with like a trading amount of money in there that I can just, get all my degens out through it. But like if it blows up, it's not the end of the world, and hopefully can make a lot of money.
So how's the degen portfolio positioned?
I am in mostly cash. Let's see, I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but like definitely over half, maybe like 75%, 80%.
Super defensive.
Yeah, I mean, basically after the app Lovin' earnings, I sold all that, and then I still had quite a bit in Coinbase. And
wait, you sold like $500 app Lovin'?
Oh, I top ticked it.
Oh,
it was like within 4 minutes of the open, and I was like, I can't believe it's still going up.
That's incredible.
with the calls too.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, it was a good ROI, and then Coinbase didn't react how I wanted after their blowout earnings.
Of course not.
And I just watched it go
disgusting.
down. And then when they announced the SEC case, got rescinded or whatever, I just sold 80, 90% of that. So there's a little Coinbase. There's some miners that are going to expire worthless, and they're not even worth anything.
Those are dead.
So might as well just hold them in case something actually happens.
Miners?
Yeah,
Bitcoin
miners are dead.
And then there's some
of them look juicy.
There's a little bit of Alibaba in there and some ServiceNow.
But you're generally like, I would say you're in like the 80th percentile of bearishness.
Yeah, wake me up second week of April. Like I just don't want to even pay attention to the market. We're in a seasonally bearish time. We know 2024 was like a big up year. People are going to have to sell stocks to pay for their taxes. And I guess towards our next topic, like the president and the U.S. Treasury Secretary are basically saying, like, we're going to slow the economy down. We're going to slow the market down.
Going to be some short-term pain.
Yeah.
It's a weird time right now. I mean, the strangest thing that's been happening over the last few days, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but like the dollar is falling off a fucking cliff. Which does not line up with this, like...
No. It's weird.
Tariff, dollar wrecking ball. It's quite the opposite has been happening. I wonder if people are slow to react to this because I do get the vibe that everybody's fairly bearish now. I don't think anybody's like balls deep in altcoins right now.
It's probably more a growth scare than the
Growth scare
tariff.
would be bullish dollar, right?
Would it? I don't know.
Like if you whenever we have like recessionary periods or like kind of like people tend to flock to the dollar.
It's
right?
weird though, because Europe looks horrendous, like economically. So
I mean, the DAX is destroying.
Yeah, the
S&P
Euro
this year.
stock market is on
Is
fire.
is it because of the defense stocks?
Absolutely crushing. I think it's because they did like a $500 billion in stimulus or something, but
Yeah, and
maybe a bunch of reasons. But
mean,
the DAX is murdering the S&P.
They just approved like they can use debt to fund defense. Man, Citrini
did that before.
fucking
Citrini nailed it, dude.
He said, buy European defense stocks because Trump is going to make them pay up.
That was
And,
part of our Trump trade episode.
Yeah.
Man, he called that one.
Raise your hand if you did that.
Yeah, I didn't even know
nope,
the tickers.
No, none of the hosts who actually like found it and then said it's.
You brought that up, and I remember being like, "Wow, that's a fantastic idea." Holy shit, I'm buzzed right now, and it never entered my brain again. We need like a stenographer there in the corner. We need to be like, "Hey, Billy, write that down. Text me that. That's a good tip."
I want to read a quote from the Treasury Secretary. Let's see. He said, over the medium term, which is what we're focused on, it's a focus on Main Street. Wall Street's done great. Wall Street continued to do fine, but we have to focus on small business consumers. We are going to rebalance the economy. In other interviews, he's saying we got to privatize it because underneath the economy, like it's weak, basically. So it seems like in all the communication, even Trump said, we're going to have a little disturbance, but it's going to be fine. So they're basically saying like tariffs, deportations, less federal spending, some maybe public employment fires, terminations, like kind of what you were saying 2 episodes ago was that Good Alexander's thing, at least the initial part. They're just going to wipe the slate clean. I think they both said that it's not Trump's economy from their 6 to 12 months. So they've already disowned the next.
That's the scariest.
Yeah,
quote,
like
right?
we disown this. Whatever happens in the next year.
Everything that's happening for the next 6 months is not on us, right? That's not what you want the Treasury Secretary saying. If you're just like both long risk, you're like, hey, talk to me in like a year, okay?
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with what's about to happen.
So I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But like, I think you just wait it out at least until this like seasonally bearish time, and maybe reassess. Is this actual growth scare?
Seasonally bearish right now? Do we
Yeah.
not get seasonally bearish until?
No, this is seasonally bearish.
Do you think everybody just front ran all the seasonal bearishness?
No, this is like
Possibly.
this February, March time period over the last 20 years has been the worst performing period on the calendar.
I agree, but like we already sold off going into it.
Not really.
Yeah,
But don't you
really?
think
What-
like
It's because you hold AI16Z. Like the stock, like S&P 500 was at all time highs.
S&P 500 has been pretty weak.
we're only off 6% off the highs?
And that happened all within the last like 8 days, I feel like.
Yeah. So
That's a lot. That's a half a year of growth in 8 days.
Well, I agree.
Gone.
But it's March now.
It's weird. I mean, the stocks still look pretty bad. I feel like they do look pretty bad, but like crypto looks kind of good in the short run. It's weird, and like I'm not grokking the dollar collapsing right now. That's the thing that's like driving me crazy, and it's making me think like I need to get longer.
yeah, because
On, like,
obviously
the-
dollar goes down,
the-
assets should go up.
I think one thing I'm afraid of is that like I'm buying into the scam bearishness. Like it's just like a seasonal volatility right around this March timeframe, and it happens a lot. I'm like really buying into like, oh my God, recession is like imminent.
You're not buying into that, are you?
I am. I
You
am.
are? Okay.
I'm like actually like sort of like teetering over this line where I'm like I'm actually a bear now.
Did you guys see the? I think we've talked about this in past pods, like years ago, when we thought some of us thought there was a recession coming, but like the Atlanta GDP Now thing, where it basically takes in all the hard data that comes in, calculates like what GDP is forecasted to be, and it went from like +2% to -2% in the last week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably like 2 data points that made it do that, but that's the only thing I could find. And payroll data, that didn't look like there was that many jobs created in the last.
Right?
Yeah, it looked weak today, and just pumperoonie.
Yeah.
But I feel like crypto specifically is usually pretty bullish, like because there's a point in time where it's bullish because I remember every June being like, why the fuck didn't I sell in May? Implying that like May was like things were like pretty good.
After everyone pays their taxes. There's data for this, I'm sure, where like if you have a year that's up over 15 or 20%,
Oh, for sure.
you know, people
For
got to
sure.
pay their taxes and their CPA hands them the tax bill and they're like, in 3 days, you're going to owe
Yeah, you got to write a fat check.
You're gonna owe $100,000 that you don't currently have in your bank account, and then they go in the
It
Schwab
sounds like
account.
you
and
tell
hit
me
sell.
we got like a window to fucking floor it here.
maybe,
A little window,
yeah.
a couple weeks of party time.
I don't know. I feel like a little patience for me is okay.
Okay, how about bonds?
What?
This is something that this is something that I like feel comfortable buying.
I own a lot of bonds.
I
right
feel
now. It
very
feels
comfortable
weird.
buying the TLT because Steven brought it up to me 2 weeks ago. And then since then, I'm like, yeah, they're going to bring the long end of the curve lower.
Yeah, like I saw Andy Constant. He said he's buying the twos and selling the spoos.
On the spoos.
S&P 500.
Yeah. So the twos don't move enough for me.
Okay,
It's like too short a duration.
that's basically a play on it. The Fed's going to cut more than what people anticipate, right?
Yeah, I guess that'd be a Fed cut.
Basically.
Yeah.
And what do you need for the 10-year? Oh wait, what's in the TLT? It's 10 years, 20 years,
TLT is 20 plus.
20 plus.
So,
So
it's
TLT is a bit of a different animal.
It's
yeah.
kind of like
It's
the
out there.
degen bond trade. But I think
it moves a little bit. It moves a little bit.
I think that you can just like think of long-term bonds as anything over like 7 years, and I think Donnie Boy himself has like very heavy real estate bags, and he's very concerned with real estate. He's going to save the real estate market by bringing the long end lower.
So in order to do that, he'd have to show that either you're cutting either the growth slows,
Yes.
right? So people think there's a recession coming, so
Yes.
then they buy bonds. You cut the federal deficit, so the bonds are actually, I don't know, higher believability that they're actually going to pay them back.
Yeah, right.
And then inflation has to come down.
Has to come
so
down,
your real
which-
return goes up.
Which probably won't happen, but the other two are, I think.
I mean, tariffs will definitely give you a growth scare.
Yeah.
God, this is still the dumbest thing I've ever seen, guys. Like, I can't, like, I find myself, like, when I'm walking to the office or whatever, I'm like, this is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Wait, why?
I think it's great.
I think it's actually just reasonable.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, pitch it to me.
Okay.
Specifically tariffs on Mexico and Canada. From the guy.
Okay, to be fair, I'm pretty sure Trump is just tariffing Canada because he doesn't like Trudeau.
Okay, so dumb idea.
Well, it's not exactly a dumb idea because if you buy into the idea that they want to like bring rates down, because what do they have? They got like $7 trillion in short-term paper they got to refinance.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy, right? So if you buy into the idea that they need to like get rates lower, like what better way to get rates lower than to just like make the dollar moon and cause chaos and uncertainty, right?
Okay, that
What's
I
an
believe.
easy way to just push a button and do that? Like, of all the ways that you just tweet something about tariffs and like you can just move markets like crazy.
Okay, so
is-
that's it. If chaos is the purpose, then that's the only reason that like makes any logical sense.
No, I don't think so.
No, there's other reasons too. Like it's like we don't have like equal trade agreements. Like all
Who
over the
cares?
world.
No,
What do
I
you mean,
think-
who cares?
I think this is like
No, who cares?
This is where I stand. Is like I think Trump fancies himself a negotiator.
Okay.
He sees that we have leverage, but you don't actually get to use your leverage unless you like imply that you're going to use something.
Right, so that's chaos, right? I'm going to inflict chaos so that
That's
I
not
can then.
chaos. That's like
He hasn't
using
even-
leverage.
He hasn't even said what he wants.
I know, but it's like
it's like part of his shtick. I don't know if you've noticed this.
I
at this
noticed
point.
loose aggressive. That's how he plays.
He's a lag.
But it's definitely not going to help bring manufacturing back.
No.
And Canada has like, I don't know, a box full of fentanyl that it ships over the border. Like, what reason are we doing it?
Obviously not about fentanyl.
Okay.
Obviously.
So it's about American pride or the soul of America or to make us rich.
No. Okay. First of all, I disagree with the idea that it's not helping manufacturing at all. I agree that it's like some pipe dream that we're gonna like bring all the manufacturing back, but to think that like he's not moving the needle, I think is silly. And I also think that it is not good. Like how we basically have like we make nothing here anymore, right? Like if stuff were to really hit the fan like it did during COVID, we're like, oh wait, we don't make any drugs or anything. And dude, the scariest stuff I heard were some stats on like China's military production versus ours.
Oh, you might have heard on this podcast last episode when you weren't here.
Oh, did you talk about
Oh
this?
yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It was good.
It was a great episode.
It was so much fun.
Oh, you caught me. No, I didn't.
No, it's
I didn't
okay.
have
I get
for the Sean Ryan episode.
Yep.
We said like 60 times the production of like aircraft.
No, sorry,
carriers or
it's
something?
350 times.
350 times, right?
times.
That's obviously bad. Like we can't do that, right? So
Yeah.
if you just let the market be, that's the outcome, right? So you basically acknowledge, if you acknowledge that that's bad, then you have to acknowledge like, okay, like I have to like nudge the market in a direction, right? Like I have to
That's not the
intervene.
If that's the goal, that's not how you do this. You don't bluntly use tariffs. You'd be like, no, let's incentivize like manufacturing for defense. And I'm going to tell my Joint Chiefs, I'm going to tell the defense secretary, I want this done. I'm going to go to the defense manufacturers and be like,
No, he's a deal maker. He wants to make a deal. He's using that.
he doesn't need to make a deal
Wait,
with China to
can-
increase the.
Can I throw something out there for you? Like,
Please.
I want to
Save me.
So people always talk about tariffs. Like, tariffs are bad. Tariffs are a tax, and I agree they sort of are a tax in a way, right? But I think it's too simplistic. For example, like let's just think about the Amazon marketplace as like an analogy for you as like a e-com guru, right?
So you're as an idiot.
You
For you.
I
For
said-
you simleton.
I called him a guru.
Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst compliment you could ever.
Oh God.
Okay. Anyway,
What do you want me to call you?
Nothing.
How do I compliment you?
Podcaster.
Okay, so Amazon basically like owns like a bunch of purchasing power, right? It's a market and people want access to the market. And in order to do so, like Amazon imposes particular restrictions on the market. One of the things they impose is what, like a 30% cut, right? Now, that is in some ways a tax on you. Like when you buy a product on Amazon, that 30% cut that Amazon is taking gets passed down to you.
Yeah, and I
right?
pay a 52% cut to the government and the state of California.
Right, but like nobody's sitting around being like, oh, I can't believe Amazon charges a 30%, like it's getting passed down to me and it's making all of us poor. Because it's more complicated than that. You get a lot of things from like shopping on Amazon. You get a lot of guarantees. You can just return anything. You can buy something and break it and just be like, it came broken, and just like send it back and like give you your money back. You just like, it's all this like good stuff happens. And people are willing to like bend over backwards to like go on Amazon and play by their rules to access that market, right? I think the United States like is a similar amount of leverage to the way Amazon does, right? And sure, like if the US didn't take like a cut of anything per se, then yeah, like none of that would get passed through and like people are paying more. But like what can you do with that leverage? Like can you take that revenue and redistribute it in a particularly like intelligent way? Like can you use it as a negotiating tactic to get other things? Like it's just so much more complicated than that. I just feel like people make this issue like
what
so
pisses me off is
simple.
like the disingenuous lie that the money comes from China or Canada or Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Well,
not.
that's a lie.
It's a definite lie. It comes from United States companies which employ United States workers.
Right. It's
What money?
The tariff money.
the tariff money ends up being a tax on consumerism, essentially.
Tax on American businesses at the very least, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
but okay, so another way to steel man tariffs. There are all sorts of ways that companies leverage this sort of like the tax differences between jurisdictions, right? They do this tax arbitrage stuff. And I think like the pharmaceutical industry is particularly like egregious, right? There you see like some of the P&Ls for these like drug companies, the accounting statements, and they basically just book like this like enormous loss in the United States and then pay no tax, and then they do this stuff somewhere else, and then they like sell the product, right? So by taxing like the end product in a particular way, you're able to like isolate that in a way and actually get revenue, right? Like the point of like taxing a corporation is to like capture revenue for the country. So what the fuck is the point of it? Like if the way that this is all set up is like you're getting tax arbed by a different jurisdiction, and then that company is dodging all of your taxes and then still accessing your market, right?
How would you feel about like our exports being taxed in other jurisdictions. Let's like ignore Canada and Mexico for now, but like in
Europe.
in Europe, like France or something, our exports could be heavily taxed.
Like they are.
Cars are.
Yeah,
they
cars are a great example of that.
So like, how do you feel about that? And then we don't tax their imports.
I'm okay with reciprocal ones.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, I
great
think
use of tariffs.
I think we all agree that like ideal world, no tariffs on anything for everybody. But like,
I actually don't know if I agree with that because like I do think there's all this complexity that arises because of the different tax structures between jurisdictions and because of like the fact that like we're like the reserve currency and it creates all these weird like kind of perverse incentives or capital flows that
which you're right. You're right. There is good uses of it, but all the outcomes you're talking about, you wouldn't do it the way Trump is doing it, which is why to me chaos seems the only logical answer, his true outcome. Like I still don't know where the end point is of what he wants these countries to do.
right. It like even if it is used for leverage, then it's like leverage for what?
For what? Just say this is what I want you to do, and they'll probably do it. Like if he wants Mexico and Canada to also tariff China, they'll probably do it. You know, but like I don't understand the end goal. And it's just even funnier when like you're using tariffs, you're like violating the agreement that you created just 5 years ago, and the agreement is up for grabs for renegotiation again next year. So you're going to go to the table to renegotiate
after
this
reneging.
deal after reneging and look like, why are we even talking? So anyway,
oh, he doesn't care about that. He just put taxes on Monday and then took them off Monday. Right? Like, it's just like that's not even like it's not even a thing that enters this guy's brain. Like this like thing other people have where they're like, oh God, I'm gonna look like such a fucking idiot. Like, no, it doesn't even have that. That thought is not.
but if you did want to get the 10-year down and make people think there was going to be a growth scare, maybe in recession, it is a good way to just pop off on tariffs, lights them up, maybe turn them off, light some more up.
Okay, but the other thing too that you're not factoring in is like, if people get tariffed, right? If people pay the tariffs in this country and they have to spend more money to buy goods, right? That's obviously bad in isolation. But like, what if you were like, okay, I just got rid of the IRS and there's no taxes. Now you've basically created like a thing over here where you have additional drivers of growth, and you can make an argument that okay, we're like increasing productivity here. I'm not saying that like, you can just definitely do that. I mean, we used to do that. I'd be very shocked if we could do that now, but like there are things you can do to like make up for like people like point at a thing in isolation like, oh my God, it's a tax, you pay the tax, everybody's poor. But like you have gotten revenue from it. You could put that revenue somewhere. You could remove a different drag on the economy from somewhere else. Like I'm just saying, like I don't think it's that simple. I also don't want to analyze it too much because, like as you say, like I don't know what the plan is. It's like it's hard to even like analyze like why it would or wouldn't work because like what is the end
One
goal?
interesting thing is like I think with a bigger impact on stocks would be if they can renew those 2017 tax cuts. If they can't, then very bad for stocks.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to, and you know they're going to have the no taxes on tips and some other things that probably like make it palatable for people.
The best one is if they re-up the accelerated depreciation for capital purchases, that will kick a whole bunch of stuff off. So let's say you're going to go buy a $4 million piece of equipment, a tractor, whatever, a crane. In the way he did it before was like in 2017, you could accelerate 100% of the depreciation in that year. And then it ticked down every year. Now we're at like 20% or something. So if he re-ups it to 100% depreciation,
You see a lot of spending. CapEx.
you see a massive amount of capital spending. in the US.
What is the case for not doing that? Like, why do people not like that? Because that makes sense to me. Like, you're like, you just like if you can incentivize people to just make these like capex.
Well, it's kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
It obviously is, right? Like if the life of that crane is 10 years or 20 years, you know, then you're just accelerating, you know, future purchases into that year. So you could continue it indefinitely, but over time it would wane off, right? Because like we don't need any more fucking cranes. But if every 6-7 years you're like, hey, bonus depreciation, you get to show a negative tax return on a year that you made money just for making capital purchases. It's a beautiful thing.
So you like it. You
I
think
love
it's
it.
good.
Yeah, I think it's good. And then I like the way they slowly phase it out, right? Do it over like 5-6 years, chop it down 20-15% every year. I also benefit from it personally because like
Yeah. This is my next question. Like, do you like it because it makes
he
you
likes it
wealthier,
personally.
or do you think it's a good idea?
Stupid policy. He likes it personally.
Is it a stupid policy?
Yes, like
why?
it should just be flat and even throughout, and like it shouldn't like you shouldn't like put your thumb on the scale of when capex happens.
you can accelerate depreciation on real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of, doing it over whatever 20 years, the sidewalks are at a different depreciation schedule than the roof, than the siding, but like you just accelerate it all and show this massive tax loss for this investment that's going to make you money. And then that tax loss just stays on your return until one day you have a gain and you're like, well, I could sell this property and not pay any taxes. So,
but it does make you more likely as a business owner to like make those investments, right? Like
yeah,
if you
another
get that.
great example is opportunity zones, right? So opportunity zones are areas of the country where they want, investment, but people don't want to invest in them because maybe they're run down, high crime neighborhoods, whatever the reason. In that scenario, you can take a gain from a previous investment, throw it into there, not pay any taxes, essentially like a 1031 like we talked about, roll it into there, and if you hold it, and this is a great part of it, you have to hold it, I think, for like 10 years. And if you hold it for 10 years, I don't think you pay any taxes, or you pay very minimal taxes on that investment. If you hold it and there's like a 5, a 7, and 10, don't quote me on this because I don't know them exactly, but there's like a 5, a 7, and a 10-year cliff, where if you sell it before 5, you get no benefit. You got to pay all the taxes. Hold it for 5, you get a discount on your taxes to where you hold it for 10 years. So you're incentivizing investment in an area that like needs it, but for whatever reason, the economics don't incentivize it. So you kind of slightly tilt the scales. And now those areas, like imagine you're a mayor and you have an opportunity zone in your neighborhood. You're just like stoked because someone's finally going to, redo those apartments or redo that commercial building. And then after those 10 years are done, maybe that place can survive on its own because it's been gentrified and built up and invested in. So I like those. That's a great example of like where
putting the thumb on the scale.
Putting the thumb on the scale in a good way where you're hopefully it's sustainable after, and it's not just continuously kicking the can down the road. Mm-hmm. Anything else? I mean, about Besant and Trump purposely tanking stocks, or at least not purposely tanking them, but like saying they really don't want them to go up. In fact, they probably want them down. Jerome Powell doesn't want them to go up.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing on this is like, I feel like this is like almost become a consensus view now. So now I'm scared. And you're always just like, wait, am I just trend following? And trend following is good? Or like, oh God, everybody's on the side of the boat and something bad's going to happen because we're all on the side of the boat.
The bad thing is if they're like, they get it down like 10, 15%, but then if it goes down like 25%, they're like, oh shit, we didn't mean for that.
Too much.
Yeah, too much.
I mean, we saw a similar thing in like his last term. Like the dollar spiked at the beginning, like very hard.
Was this in 2018 or 2019? Was that I thought that was like the taper tantrum.
That's different.
Okay, different thing.
God, so it's crazy to me because his first term was 2016, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't associate the 2017 crypto bull run with Trump for some reason. Like, do you guys?
Not even different, same part of the brain.
Feel like
No,
that was the
crypto
same time. It's so weird, like that, to think that was like Trump was in office then. Like
he didn't like it. He's like, I like the dollar. The American dollar is what I like. I don't like Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, he was not a fan. But yeah, like when he took office 2016, dollar went to the moon initially, and then like pretty shortly thereafter started selling off, and that like kicked off the bull run, which moved into 2017, and we got all that absolute madness.
Which I think will happen after we get through this little period of pain.
Or you could argue it's happening now.
Happening.
Because like the dollar did shoot up in his, let's see, Started in September at like, let's use the DXY, was at 100. And January 5th, right before his inauguration, was 110. And since then, it's basically been trending downward. So
You're talking about the dollar?
yeah.
I just don't feel like a 5% pullback on the S&P is like the sort of the pain that Besson is talking about. No pain.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like the Fed, where they just like talk about pain and the market adjusts, and they don't even have to do anything. They're like, okay.
Right. It's like it's like holding the stick above your head. That's enough.
Let's hope so, because I got some containers on their way, and I'm not stoked to pay another 20% on top of the 20% I'm already paying.
I want some pain. I'm trying to buy lower.
I want pain.
Which scares me.
I feel like Bitcoin is going into the 70s again. Like, it seems very likely to me.
Highly likely, I think.
All right. Well, before we get into politics, can we talk about a funny money topic?
Let's talk phony.
Like maybe how you would launder $80 trillion in newfound money.
Yeah.
You want to pull up those tweets? So let's talk about what happened. So this tweet shows Citigroup accidentally credited a client account with $81 trillion. It was supposed to be $280. It passed 2 levels of review and wasn't caught for 90 minutes. How? Because of an idiotic software user interface. Basically, the account had accidentally flagged for suspicious activity. So to process payment, the Citi employee had to input the transaction to a rarely used backup screen. And one quirk of the program was that the amount field came pre-populated with 15 zeros, which the person inputting a transaction needed to delete, something that did not happen. So anyway, apparently for 90 minutes, this person had $81 trillion deposited in their account. How does that not bounce, by the way? Like where? Anyway. And then there's a second tweet we have in here where some guy says, okay, you have 90 minutes, $81 trillion goes in your account. Okay, we're gonna forgive step 1, the actual realistic part of step 1, but the rest is hilarious. Wake up, see 81 trillion in my account, start moving fast. Load up 10 flash drives with $1 billion in every kind of crypto and head straight to the airport. That part we'll let slide for a second. Give my fiance 10 minutes to decide if she's coming with me. We will probably see our friends and family again, but I don't know. Once in Colombia, lay low a few days. Distribute flash drives in random hotel rooms. Send one back to my family with a note. I'm live. Put this flash drive somewhere safe. Don't tell anyone about this. Then find a cocaine dealer. Let me talk to your boss for $10K. Let me talk to his boss for $20K. Go to the big boss. I need a new identity and European passport. I can pay any amount. Then I fly somewhere in Europe and open up a tanning salon / med spa to start laundering the money. Within a year, start claiming $10 million EBITDA and paying taxes. Then start an AI company burning a ton of money. Fly to Saudi Arabia for VC funding, but in the meetings, I put my cards on the table. Listen, I'll give you $5 billion of crypto if you legitimately buy my AI business for $700 million. Just need one taker. Next step, buy a gold immigration card for $5 million. Move back to the States. You now have a legitimate $700 million in the system and a few flash drives you can use if ever needed.
That's fucking
What
epic.
a wonderful fairy tale.
That's incredible.
This could have been one person. I wonder how long this guy's. Oh, so this guy is Tanning Salon Don.
Oh, he's like a money launderer.
So we just did an elaborate native advertisement.
I guess so.
Oh.
And tanning salons are notorious for
money laundering.
laundering.
I think that's the old guard. I heard the new money laundering happens through Chinese expats looking for real estate.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This is like where the fentanyl money goes.
Yeah, because I've learned that if you hold money in China, you as a business you need to submit a budget to the government and saying this is the money we plan to invest in real estate or in businesses in the U.S. and then they have to approve it because they have capital controls. And then once they approve it, then you can actually invest that money. But as an owner, you're trying to invest that money, but then somehow put it into your account, personal account. Tanning salons are so good. Another one is laundromats.
Laundromats are classic.
Yeah, you actually have to run the machines though.
With the salon, the tanning beds too. You got to keep the electricity on nonstop.
Because they'll check your electricity bill and your water bill respectively.
Just keep them on.
Oh, you're saying if you want to.
If you want to launder.
If you're laundering money, and you're I had so many cash transactions.
But you're just arbing the electricity bill against your revenue,
Interesting.
quote unquote revenue.
Did you guys talk about the $5 million card last week?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, we had such a great potpourri of topics last week.
I missed so much goodness.
Can we just talk about this guy's first step though? Load up 10 flash drives. First of all, brother, you can't just put in any USB
Yeah, just plug in your computer and there you go.
with $1 billion in every kind of. Why only 1 billion? Don't you need like a trillion in each? Because you have $81 trillion.
Look, he doesn't want to get greedy, man.
Okay. Yeah. So if anyone's moved any significant amount of money, let's just say like 6 or 7 figures, trying to get it out of JP Morgan or Citi and into an exchange to which you can then immediately buy.
Yeah, you need approvals.
I think
for
you've stumbled onto why they have withdrawal limits at these places.
Yeah,
huh?
this is why they exist.
Yeah.
Lame. We don't have withdrawal limits in crypto, which is why the North Koreans can just take $1.5 billion. So nuts.
All right. Well, that was a fun little.
So hold on, did this guy even like notice that the money was in his account? Because I so rarely check my bank account.
I assume not, because you think you at least pay down his credit card bill, right?
Like I wouldn't even know. Like an 81 trillion hit, I would be like, oh shit, it did. Oh, cool.
Yeah, if you saw this, you'd have to get kind of creative. I don't think you could do anything though without.
No, you go to
getting it
jail if you use
reversed.
it.
Yeah.
Or you have to give the money back. There's precedents for, like, if money is mistakenly wired to your account,
So
you can't just be like, it's mine.
So money gets wired to me accidentally. I spend money out of my account, and then I go to jail for somebody else's mistake.
Yeah, eventually there's a court process of like, sir, this isn't your money. Wasn't intended for you. It was a mistake. We need the money back. Oh, you don't have it?
Yeah, it's my bad that you guys did that. I should go to jail.
I think that is a little weird.
Well, it's not your bad that you got the money. It's your bad that you spent it on cocaine and hookers, though.
Yeah. Man, if this, I wonder what a 4% interest rate on 90 minutes on 81 trillion would have been.
Yeah. Is that mine?
Yeah, is my interest mine? All right, guys.
Yeah, like here's your money back. If you pay the money back, you're fine.
Keep the interest?
Keep the interest.
Steven, do you want to, before we get into politics, which is kind of like money these days, I don't know. They're all intertwined. I can't figure it out. You want to talk about luxury workout brands?
Oh, just want to pull out this tweet real quick? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll talk to myself. Wait, where is it? Did I open it? Nope, that's not it. Oh, there it is. Okay.
What do you got here?
Okay,
Can you enhance?
Yeah, zoom in.
Zoom and enhance.
Enhance.
There we go.
I felt personally attacked by this tweet.
So Lululemon and Vuori really psyoped a whole generation. $70 shirts made from plastic and petroleum that smell disgusting every time you work out in them and destroy your fertility. Meanwhile, cotton shorts are cheaper, comfier, and better on every metric.
Okay, Steven, you were personally attacked by this. You're fully decked out in Vuori at all times.
I mean, you do smell a little gassy, a little petroleum-y.
That's awesome. All my Vuori is actually pretty cottony.
Okay.
I was actually thinking the other day that I have to stop wearing all the cotton stuff and to go more polyester, to be honest.
Why?
It just looks, I think it looks too pajama-y.
Yeah, it's very pajama-y.
Yeah,
Too pajama-y.
you're very casual.
Okay, so how about this idea? Like, I'm very reluctant to buy into whatever the fuck's on Twitter at any given time. Like, I think most recently it's been this idea that like our sperm count is down because of wearing polyester shorts. Why would that be a thing? Is this a thing or is this?
I don't think it's a thing.
But it's definitely like just circulating around. Like
my balls are enveloped by my cotton briefs.
Yeah, I have boxers. I mean, the boxers might have some polyester in it, to be honest.
Oh, for sure.
But like, is that causing infertility?
And also, like, does this stuff? Do you notice like a smell?
No, I have no
I
gassy
don't know.
smell.
I don't notice the smell in the stuff.
First of all, Vuori just looks good. I mean, like other clothes can look good.
I have cotton Vuori shorts, and I don't work out in them because I work out in them and they get all soggy.
Yeah, I think this guy's the scam.
This guy's scamming. I love my polyester shirt. I don't. If I played pickleball on like a summer day in Spring Valley in cotton shorts,
100%
it looks
cotton.
like I jumped into a pool. Like I would get back to the car and go like, it would just ring out. There'd just be water everywhere. It'd be disgusting.
So the scam is the $70 for shorts, but retail garments have always been a scam. Like
Yeah.
the markups are insane, always.
Yeah,
I tried to buy some of the Amazon basic stuff. It just like doesn't fit right.
it doesn't.
It's just
It's
like
never. It's like cut
It's like why can't
weird proportions.
Is that what the $70 is? Like the extra $50 is just like
Yeah, you try to buy like Costco shirts and they're like out to here. They're like for grandpa.
oh man.
I
Like,
can imagine the guy going to like the factory that makes Lululemon, like, no, I need the same cut. Just please, just make the same
Yeah,
one.
Here's the shirt.
I'm going to
Just
sell
make
them
this.
for cheaper, and then just they arrive on the container. And it's like, God damn it, drapes again.
it's so weird. Like how it seems to me like that's like 90% of the freaking cost value of clothes is just like do they fit?
Get the fit right. For
Why
a
is that
normal
hard?
person. Yeah.
Most important part.
Ugh. God. Anyway,
All
fuck
right.
you, Miles, you rage baiting douche.
Is he part of the what'd you call a couple weeks ago the like bro potosphere? What'd you call
The
it?
manosphere.
Oh, the manosphere. Yeah, he might be part of that manosphere echo chamber you don't listen to. All right. So I wanted to. There was a lot of Ukraine stuff in the news lately, but I wanted to like take a very specific take if you guys are open to go down this road. But my argument before on this podcast was like, no politician has ever appealed to me as an individual U.S. citizen taxpayer and say, this is why you should care, and made like a compelling argument. So can you pull up the Sagar tweet? Because this is like a good example of like some of the types of, and let's enhance this one too. So we'll read it off, but like these are some of the arguments I've heard. So protect democracy. He just writes LOL because like
Which is a good response.
there's no democracy in Ukraine right now. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's part of his argument. 2, he says, weaken Russia, Putin. Putin has more of an ironclad grip than ever. The Russian economy has sanction-proofed itself completely, and their war production has boomed since the war began. I think they're producing 10x what any individual European country is now. So,
Damn.
3, to deter China. So Russia has instead become a Chinese vassal, and the Chinese government got a free lesson on how to sanction-proof their economy and how to combat NATO weaponry. Also, weapons that would have been valuable for Taiwan were shipped to Ukraine all while depleting U.S. stockpiles, making us less secure. So that one's down. 4, fortify NATO/Europe. Europe has proven itself unable to meet even modest arms production goals. It has become drastically poorer after shifting off Russian gas. Still don't get that one. It faces populist revolts and today can't even guarantee a peacekeeping force in Ukraine of 30,000 without the U.S. footing the bill and providing all their interference support. So these are the common ones I've heard. And like, I don't know, just as an individual citizen, like forget like, the Secretary of State or just the U.S. as a country. Like, why should I care? And I feel like that argument has never been properly made to me, but I would have been open to it. Like I would have potentially been open to like someone be like, hey, no, this is how it's going to affect you, someone who lives on the homeland, and why you should care. But like,
I mean, I think there's like a first principles thing that people care about, which is like you're
people dying,
getting invaded and like getting attacked.
but I'm not getting invaded and attacked.
Well, I agree, but I feel like people can empathize with that and be like, that is wrong, and we should defend that.
And I think that's probably like maybe what the argument has been is like we empathize. So because we're the United States, we help.
Yeah, and I sort of agree with you. I've been thinking about it a lot. Like, why should we support it? I can understand why to empathize with it, but why should we go defend it with our lives and our resources?
And I would believe that argument if the whole way through the United States was like, we need to come to an agreement. We need to stop this immediately. Like, let's get in the room. We'll broker it. We're going to stop this right away. But that's not what's happened. So that one kind of like doesn't feel genuine. I did try to like think of some that would like actually speak to me.
Okay, what
so
would land?
I came up with 2. 1, prevent a larger, even costlier war. Stan Druckenmiller has made this argument. He said, assuming they take Ukraine, they would go on to Poland next, which is not inevitable, right?
No, but this is like, somebody's speculating that Putin becomes the next Hitler or something.
Right. So like, okay, it may cost you 300 billion now, but it's going to cost you 3 trillion if he moves on to Poland. Okay, I can get behind that one. Another one much smaller is like technically Ukraine exports a lot of agriculture and food to the US, so it's like we need to protect that agricultural production but we can make plenty of food ourselves, so
Like, aren't we the biggest agricultural nation?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other countries that can supply us grain, I think, which is, I think, they're one of their biggest exports. So I don't know. That's all I came up with. Like, if I had to, get behind the argument and be like, this is why I should care.
Have you seen the biology argument?
Okay, here's from Biology.
All right. Do you want to read this one off? You're close to the screen.
Okay, biology. Here's the issue. There's a strong argument that Ukraine is the climactic battle of the Thucydides trap.
What the hell's that?
It's a great question. That is, the big war between the U.S. and China is actually between their proxies, Ukraine and Russia. And the settlement to this war determines the next world order. Because there won't be a fight in Taiwan if NATO is defeated in Ukraine. Taiwan will just surrender to China because they know they won't get reliable Western military support. And so will everyone else. So this may be the decisive moment when terms get negotiated with a China-Russia group for the next however many years. That means that even if you think Ukraine was a disaster and Zelensky is a dummy, you don't want NATO to be catastrophically defeated in Kyiv like it was in Afghanistan.
Okay. Here's the best argument against it. Ukraine is not in NATO.
It's not in NATO.
So it's like,
why are we defending it?
Yeah. Now, some politicians said we want Ukraine in NATO, which is like, I could go into the whole timeline of why that's a terrible decision.
Which is maybe why we're in this in the first place.
Exactly. So like, Ukraine is not in NATO. If they invade Poland, then you unleash the fury, right? Because like,
right now you want to fight NATO. Now you can fight NATO.
Not like, I don't know, NATO adjacent. Like, that's not the thing. That's not Article 5 doesn't say if someone who borders NATO, like, and then you go back to Sagar's, arguments, and you say you actually put Russia wasn't necessarily in the pocket of China, but now it is. Mm-hmm. And I think Palmer Luckey gave a good, in that Sean Ryan interview, he's like, what would be better is to show that we can actually supply the weapons that we're promising if in case there was a war, which we would run out in, what do you say, like 8 days?
Yeah, it was not good.
Yeah. So I kind of get the argument he's trying to make, but I feel like it could be pulled apart pretty quick.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy into it completely. I kind of feel like you do. I've always resonated with that. You know that meme where it's like, I support the current thing. It's one of the best memes created for the last 2 decades, probably. Definitely a candidate. And yeah, like nobody knows why they support Ukraine. Because I think the arguments for supporting are probably like kind of a little wonky.
They're getting invaded. I think that's it.
Yeah, and like,
but that's not a good argument because
I know, but that's like what people are feeling.
Right, but that's like that's just like it's just like it's like an emotional thing for people.
Yes.
It's purely emotional.
Exactly. And then I thought about it. I was like, well, there are many times where the tables were turned where like even the land that we're doing this podcast on was not ours. This was Mexico. 170 years ago.
Are you suggesting that we do a land acknowledgement to start every single episode?
I'm just saying that like it's fucking crazy that like we play this like arbiter of the outcome of wars and like claim who's good and who's evil. These boundaries that are drawn on the maps are fucking redrawn all the time based on the outcomes of wars. Why do we need to middle all of them and intervene in all of them? Like just
yeah. And I guess the other thing is like if empathy was the reason, right? I feel like there would be like a little more. Maybe I'm asking for too much. A little more nuance or like history. Like no one has ever said like why did Russia invade Ukraine? Like like okay, we empathize with them, but like it's not just Putin bad man. Like you have to like understand the situation and then so you know how to solve it. But like real empathy would have been like, well, this is what he wants and he'll leave. So let's just push for that rather than more war. Cause like what we really empathize is 1 million Ukrainians getting murdered and Russian, kids.
Well,
And,
there's Russian lives that are getting lost as well, and these guys don't necessarily want to fight in a war either.
yeah,
But like they're under a fucking dictatorship.
that would be real empathy, I think, if you actually push for it. Like I was looking, there was like this great Jeffrey Sachs video. It was like 4 or 5 minutes long, and he gives the timeline. So him and John Mearsheimer, if you guys want to like do some Googling on like the history of this, and just for 5 minutes can even understand like the full context of it. Like you could go further back, but the reason like Russia I think wanted to invade Ukraine was to basically force Zelensky to the table and say, we just want you to be neutral. We don't want you to push for NATO membership. So, and that happened. Like they got together after 7 days, and the U.S. was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't get in, because I think they were thinking back to like old Afghanistan. Like, we'll pay these pre-Al-Qaeda people and we'll give them javelins so they can go kill Russians, and we can weaken and kill Russians without putting our people, our military at risk. Anyway.
Yeah. It's weird. Like I don't grasp the fact that it's like, okay, like we already decided to not have them in NATO. We already like put them outside the red line, but then we like care so much to defend, and it's just, I guess, just purely like, oh no, that's like a boots on the ground thing. But like, it's
Can I read this timeline to you? It's even more infuriating when you kind of go back. So this is from the Jeffrey Sachs video. If you search for it on Twitter, you'll find it really quick. But in 1991, the Soviet Union ended, and there was an agreement. NATO will not move 1 inch eastward. Okay? 1994, Bill Clinton says, we should enlarge NATO. Putin says, don't do that. Don't put it on our border. Okay, so in 1999, Hungary, Poland, Czech Republic, not on the border, but were added to NATO. 2004, Romania, Bulgaria, Slovenia, Slovakia added to NATO. So now we're like starting to get closer to the border, not on the border. Putin says, 2007, enough is enough. Do not, put NATO on our border. I mean, just quickly imagine like Russia putting a military base like south, just 20 miles south of like Texas. There would be war within a week, and that's exactly what happened. So a month later, there's like war in Georgia that breaks out, and then in 2010 we add missile systems to Poland. Putin says, we don't like that. We don't like your missile systems on our border. Viktor Yanukovych gets elected on the basis of neutrality, saying we're not siding with Russia, we're not siding with NATO.
Elected in Ukraine.
Yes, elected in Ukraine. And during that time, Russia was negotiating for a 25-year lease in Sevastopol. They wanted a military base on a specific portion of Crimea. 2014, the U.S. actively works to overthrow Yanukovych. So there's a recording anyone can access of Victoria Nuland talking about who they should replace Yanukovych with. And it's like pretty hard evidence that we were pushing for this. So in 2015, there's an agreement of everyone in the UN for autonomy for Russian-speaking areas. The UN unanimously accepts it, except for the U.S. and Ukraine. In 2022, the question was, does the U.S. claim to put missile systems in Ukraine? Do they claim the right on the border of Russia? Blinken says the U.S. reserves right to put missile systems wherever we want, whenever we want. So, to 2022, war kicks off, right? Big surprise. The goal was to force Zelensky into neutrality and negotiate. Within 7 days, he's ready to negotiate. Doesn't actually, negotiate neutrality. It's all they had to do is say, we're not going to join NATO, and probably everything would have been done. The US, the UK say, don't do it. And I think the idea was like, we'll get all the Baltic states, the ones bordering the Black Sea, to put like a Black Sea embargo on Russia, and we'll force them to the table. And then, you have senators continue to say, wow, this is a great use of our money to, we just supply money, no people, and we kill Russians. So I don't know, if you just look at the timeline, like over the course of just 2 or 3 decades, you have this agreement, and then you have us consistently pushing for
taking more inches.
I don't understand why. And then you're like, wow, maybe this could be solved right now. And I bet you what's on the table now to this day is like, you have to say NATO will not take in Ukraine, and you probably have some little piece. He's going to want his territory gains.
No, I feel like it's like even gotten worse because the U.S. and NATO feels aggrieved that Russia wants to protect Ukraine from joining NATO, so they're invading. They're like, "Whoa, you're trying to get close to our border."
Yeah, I don't know. They put missiles in Cuba, and we almost lit up the fucking globe. So.
Almost ended humanity.
Yeah, ended humanity because of it. So
that would have been a big oopsie. I feel you, man. Like I don't know. Like I'm not a gigabrain on this topic, but like I read a lot. I listen to a lot of arguments, and I have not found the pro-Ukraine arguments like super persuasive. Like I just haven't. They feel like emotional, and to me, they could just be transposed onto a whole bunch of other countries and a whole bunch of other people, and there's people being oppressed and invaded in a lot of areas.
Would you consider yourself open to an argument?
I'm very open to an argument, right? And we talk about how it's like of such like strategic importance or something, but like also it wasn't of strategic importance to like put it in NATO, which like I don't understand. And then so like there's like all these like catch-22s like I don't quite get, and then I tend to like side with like Trump on this, which is like, hey, this is like very much like a European problem more so than it is like an American problem. So why do we foot so much of the bill? Like, which sounds reasonable to me. It sounds like a reasonable thing.
Back to his negotiating tactics, he did the whole loose aggressive thing, right? Like, get the fuck out of the White House. Like, you want
to talk about? Like, can we talk about the Zelensky meeting?
Yeah, that
last
was
week?
awesome. I think that was like a pretty wow moment.
It's a very interesting point in time. It was a very weird, interesting point in time, just in general foreign policy history. It was like a interesting Rorschach test. It was like interesting to go in the Discord and see people's reactions to it. And I think there were people who had reactions after like what, like I think very few people watched like the whole 50 minute encounter.
I didn't either.
I did, and it's like very different watching that versus like you saw a clip,
a 2-minute clip, yeah,
on social media.
So forget all the like takes. I'm curious, what was your like immediate? You watched the 40 minutes and you're like, what the fuck just happened? And what's your immediate take after watching the whole thing?
It seemed like rational to me. Like I think that if you watch the whole thing, like the least like egregious person in the whole exchange is Trump. Like it's a close like race between JD and Zelensky, I think, on like who like stepped out of line. Like I would probably give it to Zelensky given like the context of other stuff, but like I don't think JD JD was like obviously he seemed like he was trying to make Trump mad because he threw in the comments about him like campaigning for the other side and stuff. Like he's just it was obviously trying to poke both of the bears, but like they were there ostensibly to like sign like a mineral this sort of like mineral agreement.
It's
right?
an economic deal, right?
Yeah, like an economic deal, and it was supposed to be like I think like more of a formality, and like Zelensky did come in at the beginning of the meeting and just start saying shit, right? Like that was like counter to what was happening. And if you listen to the beginning of the meeting, like, Trump at multiple points like could have like gone off flown off the handle and sort of like redirects it back like multiple times, right? But like Zelensky came in like very hot. Like we don't have to sign this deal. It's like, how do we trust it? It's talking about a ceasefire. And it's like, well, they're going to break a ceasefire. And it's just like obviously you can't like negotiate a ceasefire if like one of you're just like, well, they're not going to do it anyway. It's like, okay, why are you here? Yeah. And he was like litigating stuff like in front of the press. And I definitely got the impression that he was just used to coming in and just like the previous administration, like if Biden was in that meeting, like 100%, like he would just bow down to him, right? Like 100%.
Apparently there were reports in private where they had yelling matches because like the guy would just like get money and then come in like the next week and ask for more money and not like be like, thank you.
Yeah. And in private, maybe Biden did yell at him. Maybe I believe that, but in public, like he wouldn't do that.
Right.
Whereas like Trump, like would just do the same thing he did in front of the camera as he would in private, which is like a thing that makes people not like Trump because you see all this ugliness, but it's also like stuff that other people are probably doing, and you just like have like a lot of radical transparency because like he's just the same guy.
My understanding was that like he was like, I'll sign this economic deal if you provide a security guarantee, which basically I took as if they violate a ceasefire or if they invade us again, then you will like your military will come and defend us, which is to me like kind of like a NATO style agreement. I don't know. Maybe I'm misconfusing. Maybe just wants money money and weapons.
He wants to go into NATO. I think if you game theory out like Zelensky the man, like in his own personal stuff, like of course, like he wants to just keep this going or like go out with like a NATO guarantee or something, right? It makes sense that would be but like his own personal interests like don't align with the interests of anybody else, right? And to Trump's credit, like where he's talking about like you have no cards, like he's right. Like he's not in any position to be making like, well, I won't sign this if you have unless I have a security guarantee. Like the position should be from us that like you'll do whatever the fuck we tell you to do because you would not be here without us.
Your
like,
alternative is
it's just like
you don't sign it and you get taken over and we don't fucking defend you. Like that's your alternative.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is like the what's the monetary deal? It's essentially like we participate in the upside if these minerals are drilled for and sold, right?
Yeah.
So you might, if you're Zelensky, you're like, okay, cool. This is an equity deal. So if I essentially give you equity in my country, if Russia does invade and you lose your equity, you might be more likely to come to my defense because, hey, you have equity in these mineralites, so you don't want them to go to Russia and just take over this land. You'd be more likely to help them out in that scenario.
Yeah.
I
don't think we'd go to war over some minerals.
No,
Probably not, but like at least you're kind of aligning incentives.
Like
yeah.
you now have like all this like stuff that's like really valuable. If somebody tries to come in and take your stuff, you're going to be more inclined to be like, no, you're not taking my stuff, right? So like the deal is good in that I think it like provides like economic alignment, and I think economic alignment is great because like all other forms of alignment don't seem to work particularly well. Like they're just like, yeah, we're aligned on morals or democracy or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like it's like,
LOL.
but like when people have like money, when like money's involved, right? When financial interests are involved, suddenly like we seem to be like really interested to like, it's like oil in the Middle East, right? Like, oh, we seem to have no problem.
We
like,
made up a war just to pretend.
Shit, right?
We'll make something up. We'll get the minerals.
Like, yeah, like we're definitely like history has shown that like we're definitely doing things that we probably don't even want our government to do to defend the freaking economic interests.
Yeah.
Right?
So you would think at some point he'd be like, well, I'll get him on the hook. If I can't get the goddamn security degree now, I'll get him on the hook. At least we'll have our incentives aligned. Do you guys care like how the style in which Trump gets this done? Because like, you know, I didn't watch it, but I was like, wow, this seems like just a clusterfuck. And I saw there was like the U.S. and Russia somehow passed some UN resolution, which means nothing. It's just a statement, but basically saying that Russia's not at fault for the war. You know, in which we just made an argument for it, but like, yeah, it did invade it. So you make the argument. That seems kind of preposterous. So like, do we care about the style, or should we just like ignore until there's an outcome, and then if we get the outcome, then you grade them on the outcome?
I mean, like, I don't care about the style. It seems like everybody just cares about style, right? Like, you open social media and everybody's like, I'm so embarrassed for what is with these people being like fucking embarrassed? Like, embarrassed over what? Like, you're embarrassed that the fucking Euros like don't like you're gonna go visit some French cafe and people are gonna be like, ugh, like they're gonna scoff at you. Is that what you fucking care about? It's just like, who the fuck cares, right? Like, I think that the results like speak for themselves. Like 2 days later, he's like, I'm sorry, and signs a deal, right? And like, what do you care about? Do you care about avoiding World War III, or do you care about like looking good and like feeling good when you travel to Europe or something, right? Those are very different, optimizing for very different preferences there. Like, I care about avoiding World War III. And if what he does moves us farther away from World War III, I think it's good, right? And I think in doing this, like he also is just like he's further exposing the absurdity of everything, right? Because he did the shit, and then there was all this like grandstanding from Europe and all this thinking about Twitter, all this meetings, and and then France is like, yeah, we'll send you a Peugeot, and Trudeau is like, you can have our 3 fighter jets, and then and then it just makes people be like, oh yeah,
You have no cards.
like these people, and it's like, oh yeah, these people are just all talk, like all they have is fucking words, and it's like, what do you want? Like, who do you want to align with? Do you want to align with all of these bullshitters, right? Who just say
Value
shit
signal.
that just like makes you feel good about yourself, right? And they do nothing, or they do worse than nothing. Or do you align with the guy who just says stuff that like makes you like your skin crawl sometimes, but then like things get done, right? Like, what do you do? Like, it's kind of sucks that that's your choice. Like, you're gonna choose between like flowery words and
Because what's the end game for like the Ukraine supporter? Like, you want to like fight Russia back? You want to like actually get into a kinetic war and fight them back?
That's what Macron just said.
Yeah,
It's
fuck
like,
that.
Why?
Fuck that.
Why? Because he says that and he gets rewarded for saying that. He knows he never has to cash the check. Like, all these people say that, and they're just playing for like media accolades. Basically, they know they're gonna say something, and the press will pick up on it, and then make them look good. They'll blow a bunch of fucking rainbows up their ass because they don't like Trump, right? And they know they'll never have to cash the check. The moment any of these people like have to go fucking cash the check, they know the check's gonna bounce, and they just run away with their like tail between their legs because there's nothing there.
I can make a. What do you think about this argument? Not that I agree with it, but I think you can make a good argument that if the U.S. doesn't stay as the main police, right, the international police, that you'd actually encourage nuclear proliferation, which would inch you even closer to World War III. So I think the idea is like, okay, U.S. protects all Western countries. They hold the nukes, so we don't need them because they'll come to us if we get attacked. And now they're like, oh, they're clearly not going to come and save us, so we need nukes. Again, I don't really agree with it, but it's an argument that I think is valid.
Yeah, I think we have to like move on to like the second derivatives, because like we can see clearly that U.S. holds the cards in some of these dynamics. I'm wondering, like, does playing international police give us any privilege in like other second order derivatives in terms of like reserve currency, or like, I don't know, just in like tariff stuff where you kind of know that there could be more backing the tariffs. Like, these are just negotiation tactics, but having these levers to pull like are probably strengthened by the fact that you play this like, global police.
We didn't get tariff-free cars apparently in Europe for footing the bill. I guess like in general you get like just smoother economic like transactions, right? You don't have to worry about a ship going missing in the whatever sea, the Red Sea.
I mean, those are benefits that like are overweighted towards our trading partners, not
us
not
in particular.
us.
Yeah.
I feel like you're presenting like a bit of a false dichotomy though, because you're sort of implying, and I think people believe this, that like Trump is like isolationist and that he wants to like withdraw from the world, which I actually don't get the vibe is true. Like, he seems to wants to be involved in stuff, but he seems to like wants to have this kind of peace through strength mentality. Like, you've seen him like really flex, right? He fucking nuked Soleimani, right? Like, just did some crazy shit.
We were in Israel when he did that. We're like, oh shit, should we leave?
I don't think he's like a withdraw from the world kind of guy, right? Which I think is correct. Like, I actually am not mega huge on like American like hyper isolationism, but like this Ukraine, it's like the worst of both worlds. It's like you let a conflict start that I don't think had any reason to start, right? And sometimes once something starts, like there's not a good end to it, right? Like, it's just like, okay, the cat's out of the bag. What are you gonna do now, right? Like, the best thing you can do is like resolve that, and then like draw some red lines or something so it doesn't happen again. I don't think he's advocating for like ending the war in Ukraine and then just packing up the entire military and like coming back home, I do think that would be a mistake. And I do think like America has like a role to play in the world. But like, I think like you have to be like, I feel like the Obama and the Biden administrations, they were not willing to flex any sort of like nobody took any of the threats seriously. Right. And I think people were willing to.
Well, he drew a red line and then didn't back it up when it came to like Syrian chemical weapons or something.
Everybody's like pushing where there's mush, and there's like a lot of mush, right? And when you have like a Trump in there, it's like there doesn't seem to be any mush, right? And again, he benefits from this like strategic like insanity, basically, where you're kind of like negotiating with a crazy man. You don't know what he's gonna do, right?
Can you remember we were walking back from Postino and you were describing, and we could finish on this, but like the 3 different types of poker players. You're like, there's a nit and there's something else, and then you're like, oh, once I put Trump in this type of poker player, like it all made sense. Can you go through that?
Yeah. So when I used to play poker, we would categorize players on the basis of sort of like basically like how loose or tight they are, and then like how aggressive they are. And with those 2 components, like you could kind of put a profile on somebody. So you had like your loose passive player, which is like the worst.
Wait, didn't they have a nickname though? The best part's the nicknames.
Loose passives. What do we call loose passives? Would they call them like laps or something? Okay. But I mean, loose. They're fish. Like they're like whales, right? Like loose passive is you play like every hand, but with like no aggression, right? You just put your money in the pot, and then people raise, and you just call, and you're just playing like a casino game to try to like, and you only bet when you have a hand. Very easy to play against, and you just like suck, right? And then you have your nits. Your nits were like super tight, and they were kind of aggressive because like, well, you have like aces every other hand, so you can be aggressive, right? But those people were easy to play against too, because every time they did anything,
you just fold.
You just fold, right? And then you had like your tight aggressives. We called them the tags. The tag was like the good strategy. You played an appropriate amount of hands. You were relatively tight, but you were very aggressive when you played the hands. But then, like in the early days of poker, before everybody really solved poker, you had another type of player, the lag, the loose aggressive. So the lags were like interesting players because they played tons of hands, and it made them very unpredictable because they could have anything in any scenario, and then they would play very aggressively as well. They're very hard to play against, so they're always applying pressure, right? And if you were like a really, 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 really good player, you could kind of like counter that. But like most people struggled hard with that. And then I realized like Trump is a lag. He's loose aggressive. Plays a lot of hands. He's splashing chips everywhere. He's always putting people to a decision. Always putting people to a decision. Always putting people to a decision. And he like never has the freaking like
he's like bluffing.
He's bluffing constantly.
Yeah.
But he also like is really good. He's just basically really good at reading other players' hands. Like he's a loose, aggressive player who's like almost not even looking at his hand half the time because he just knows what your hand is. Again, and in international relations, like a lot of these countries, they are playing with their hands completely face up.
Or they're bad hands. I mean, like they're just
and often they're bad hands, right?
Yeah.
And this is especially true with like the tariff stuff. Like you like when you take somebody like Canada, right? And I'm not saying we should be tariffing the shit out of our maple syrup loving northern brethren, right? I love Canada. I love Canada. I love our Canadian.
Canada's our
friends,
neighbors.
Right?
We want to be friendly with our neighbors.
But if you objectively look at this like an evil person, right, and you look at the relative trade back and forth and how much of our economic success depends on Canada, how much of Canada's economic success depends on the US, like if you are a person who's just looking to optimize and push your edge, like if you're in a poker game, like you're raising the shit out of Canada all the time. Canada never has a hand. You're always raising. You just always have a better hand than Canada, right? It's like playing in a poker game where Canada always has like 7-8 offsuit, and you just always have like aces, right? You just like you're always ahead. So it makes sense from a game theory perspective if you're just like looking at basic economics and that stuff, like why you would apply pressure there, right? Obviously, I think there's all these other elements that go into it that are non-economic, but like he's kind of just playing poker and being like, you have no hand, I have a very strong hand, I'm just gonna raise you because fuck you, and we'll just see what happens, right?
It's funny, like since you mentioned that, I'd be like reading the news or like I don't know, see a tweet, and I'm like, loose aggressive. Very loose aggressive today. Loose aggressive every day.
He's not passive. He's not passive and he's not tight.
He's a combination of like loose aggressive and like Rodney Dangerfield. He's like, we get no respect. You know, and he's just like, I'm gonna keep pounding you, forcing you decision. We get no respect.
Just wants respect.
Yeah,
That's all.
I want to give another shout out to Canada. Love
Yeah.
Canada. You lived in Canada.
you were a mid Canada guy
I
too,
lived
not
in
even
the,
like
in the
Toronto.
heartland, in the
or-
heartland of Canada. I love Canada. Let's not let this shit.
I feel like I'll get honorary Canadian with like how much I love maple syrup and hockey.
How do you think my hair stays up like this?
I frequently go into restaurants and get breakfast and fucking lay into people when they just give me, like, I can tell as soon as the syrup comes and I pour it out, it's like thick viscous bullshit. Oh, my blood boils. I get so mad. It's so mad because I grew up in New England. We have a lot of maple syrup there.
The good shit.
The good
Yeah.
shit. The good shit. I'm offended when people like, oh, I like Aunt Jemima. I'm like, the fuck you do.
I grew up on Aunt Jemima.
Oh God. Oh
I grew up in Mexico.
I'm sure you're really speaking the heart of all Canadians.
I grew up
right
in
now.
Mexico 170 years ago.
Oh God. When somebody, there's the two types of people. I guess there's three types of people. There's Aunt Jemima people, maple syrup people, and then there's just like, I don't have a horse in this race. What the fuck are you talking about, people? But like, if you're like an Aunt Jemima person, I just don't. I have so many questions, right?
Then you have your anti-glycemic index people. Who are like, no syrup for me.
What about a savory guy?
Yeah. All right, guys. Anything else?
No, that was good stuff.
Yeah, that was fun. Thanks everyone for joining us, and thanks for the chat for sticking with us the whole pod. It's always fun when you guys are in there with us. And then next week we'll find out if we're uncles.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I'm excited.
baby reveal.
Yeah, baby reveal. Yeah, I'm excited for him. So yeah, hopefully Armand will be back. He probably won't have any energy or no
Yeah,
sleep.
I'm guessing
but,
he won't be back.
And then you're next, brother.
Yeah, soon.
next.
TM.
Okay, guys. Thanks everyone for joining us. Love you lots. And yeah, I'll see you next Wednesday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.